I think this is an interesting topic and I want to hear your thoughts. It occurred to me as our Pennsylvania season has just wrapped up and there's snow now in the 60-yard backyard and we're getting ready for the second crossbow season, which is coming up, the rifle season. But for us as crossbow hunters, I'm wondering what your thoughts are on this topic. What are your favorite parts associated with the hunting methods of your choice, the kind of hunting that you do? There's like separate stages to what we do as hunters to prepare for and take advantage of our hunting opportunities. But basically we have scouting, right? Got to go out there and find out where the deer are. Then we have habitat management, food plottery, all that good stuff. Third, we have equipment preparation. That's all that backyard preparation we do. Getting the crossbows dialed in, getting our gear all set up so we know it's going to work when we head afield. The actual hunting, right? That's right in the middle. The hunting is a lot of fun. We go out there and that's when we try to take advantage of those opportunities. Then we have tracking. Right? We sometimes forget that tracking is a hunting skill and it's a big part of hunting. Field dressing, processing, and taking advantage of it, cooking our harvest. And taxidermy, of course. That's a big part of taking advantage of our harvests. As far as I'm concerned, I'll talk about what they mean to me. At the end of this video, I want you to put in order what your favorites are. Scouting, I love scouting. Scouting for me is an opportunity to find out where the deer are, obviously, on a new property and figure out how the deer use that property. Now, other animals also, right? It might be wild hogs in your case. It might be bears. It might be any other animal. Out west, it's going to be mule deer or antelope, something like that. But scouting is very important and it's a lot of fun because it's an adventure to me. You go out there and there's something around every corner. A little bit different. You're learning new properties. I spend a lot more time scouting on state game lands than I actually do hunting, by far. The scouting is so much fun. I've involved Genevieve in it over the years. It's a great way to introduce your kids to the outdoors. You go out there and take them on these trips. You show them how animals use the outdoors. Don't just show them how deer use the environment, but show them the other tracks. Show them the little trails on the ground made by raccoons and other animals, and show them nesting areas for turkeys and other ground birds, that sort of thing. So spend time with them. It's a great way to introduce kids in the outdoors. It's also just a lot of fun, and you learn a lot. It forces you to keep your eyes open and evaluate what you're seeing, which is so important, I think, as crossbow hunters with any kind of hunting. The food plottery, I love food plottery, and I kind of miss it. I haven't been doing it as much because over the years, if you read my first book, The Death by Bunjie Crossbow Story, in that book I talk about how times change, right? That's the theme of this season for me. And back then times were changing and I was losing access to the property that I grew up on. I was afraid of that, so I sold all my equipment, all my food plottery and habitat management related equipment, my side-by-side, my tractor, all that good stuff. All that stuff is gone. Then it turns out I still have access to that property. What are you going to do, right? So I do a lot of that food plottery and habitat management by hand. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of work. It's great off-season work to combine with scouting, and it really pays off. The animals thank you for that. The better job you do with food plottery, not just food, but the habitat management, increasing browse on the ground, cover, bedding areas, that sort of thing, focusing on all animals, not just deer or not just your target species, setting up a property for your target species with on mind a way to make it better for other animals is a great thing. And it's a lot of fun, and it's something I hope to do more of on Death by Bunjie going forward. In fact, there's some more information about that I'll share with you down the road. I'm always thinking about that stuff because I love it. When it comes to our third category, that backyard preparation, all the equipment preparation, that's a lot of fun. I mean, I spend a lot of time in the 60-yard backyard. I'm sure you spend a lot of time in your version of the 60-yard backyard. We've got to work on arrows, broadheads. We've got to make sure that everything is going to work when we head afield. We probably end up doing more work on this than anything else. At least I hope we do. I know I do. And in fact, if you watch Death by Bunjie, most of the videos that I do each and every year is pretty much related to that backyard preparation. Next, we have hunting, right? I don't have to talk about that much. because we know what we're doing here. I love going out and hunting, and I go to Maryland to hunt on a regular basis every year, and this year more than ever before. I like to explore new species this way, whether it's bears, that sort of thing, and I like the deer hunting. Nothing makes me happier than sitting in a tree stand or in a ground blind hunting for deer. So it's all great stuff. I just love it, and that's really probably the reason most people tune into Death by Bunjie is for the hunting related content. Now you've taken a shot, you've done your hunting, now you've got tracking. I love tracking. Some more blood. Ooh, lots of blood. Going through here. Man, you can smell them. You can smell them good. You tore through here. Pretty good. You got some more blood on the leaves. More blood. Look at that. Tracking is just a great thing to me because it's like a crime scene and you are the detective and you are solving that mystery. Where did this deer go? How far is it going to go? You're gathering clues and evidence, that sort of thing. Ideally, and in a lot of shots with crossbows, if you make a proper shot, you're going to hear that deer crash or maybe even see that deer crash in your presence. But if you made a proper shot and that deer runs that 40 yards and dies just out of view, which is my perfect shot. That's my definition of a perfect shot. That's what I strive for every time. Then you do have to do a little bit of tracking. Sometimes more than others, right? There's no guarantees in this business. Didn't go 20. 120.
She did not, in fact, go 20.
Yeah, that's a fact. She didn't go 20. She went about 120 yards. I have an entire chapter in my book, The Death by Bunjie Crossbow Method. There's an entire chapter in there that's sort of devoted to tracking, tells a story, and probably my longest successful track job is in that chapter. So you might want to read that or listen to it. Both of my books are available as audiobooks. That's why my voice is a little raspy, right? Because I talk too much. But seriously, check out those books. Tracking to me is a precious thing. And when it leads to a deer, it is a skill that is invaluable. You cannot place enough value on tracking ability. For me, it starts with looking at the video on my phone or on my Tacticam camera, SD cards, what have you, to evaluate how good my shot was right there in the stand or before I start the track job. That's my first clue. Look back at that shot. That tells me, is this a better wait a little bit? Or is this a, go after him right now, right? It's that kind of information. Next step, you get the arrow, you look at the arrow, you're interpreting the sign on that arrow, whether it's hair, whether it's blood, whether it's muscle tissue or guts or fat. All of these things mean different things, but they're just clues. They're just clues. They don't tell you the answer, they're just clues. But if we're successful hunting, what does that mean? That means all of a sudden, wow, now we've got an animal to clean, to field dress, to process, and to eat. And that is great stuff. I really enjoy that part as well. If you're on our Facebook page, you get to see an awful lot of cooking pictures, stuff that I have done over the years because I have a smoker and I also have a Blackstone griddle. And those two things are just great tools to cook in the outdoors. I love that stuff, right? I'm a little less effective in the indoors, in the kitchen here at the house, but I try the cast iron. I'm doing the best I can with that, and sometimes I hit it out of the park, and sometimes it's a big flop, but it is something I enjoy. But the processing also, I've done videos on canning. I love that. I love the product. I love having access to that. I've shared with friends of Bunjie. That's something I really enjoy, and I hope you do too. Down the road, a Death by Bunjie cookbook, huh? Yeah. There's one in the works. I got to learn more before I feel comfortable releasing something like that, but it's coming. It's coming. What can I say to help you?
Thanks.
When we talk about taxidermy being a part of that, I have the good fortune of having my own taxidermist, Genevieve, right in-house. She can do all of this great stuff for me. And I really, really cannot tell you how much I love the taxidermy. That is such a big part of this for me. I like taxidermy so much that I actually bought a house that had a nice room that I could turn into a trophy room, and that's where I'm making this video. And it just completes the overall experience of the outdoors because every time I cook something, I think back to the time I was in the woods when I harvested that animal. Every time I sit in my trophy room and watch television, I think about those experiences in the outdoors. It's the best way to constantly immerse yourself in this lifestyle. Genevieve has her own YouTube channel, Second Life Taxidermy. You can check it out there. You can check out her Facebook page. You can check out her website. Links to all that stuff is in the description. So for me, when you look at these different things, and I want to hear your opinion, I'm putting my opinion at the end, so you've had a chance to sort of evaluate all this. Maybe even want to pause that video and then put yours in there so that I am not influencing what your decision is. All right, so I'm doing this video the next morning. I'm all ready for work. I'm getting ready for work here and all that good stuff. And I scrapped the ending that I shot yesterday. I'm not going to publish that because it was all over the place. And I realized while I was editing it that my answers weren't the same as I thought they were going in. That happens sometimes when I make these videos, but because you're thinking more about it, right? So all of these things are close, right? And I don't want it to sound like a cop-out, but they're all so close, it's almost hard for me to pick which one I like more, which one I like less. Trying to put them in order is very difficult for me. And I guess that makes sense because if I didn't enjoy all of this process, I probably wouldn't do it, right? If I was only interested in the hunting, then I probably wouldn't be as interested in going and doing all that work in the backyard, doing the preparation. I probably would not enjoy eating the food and hanging the taxidermy on the wall here in the trophy room. That stuff wouldn't be, up there on my list if I didn't enjoy the entire process. I probably wouldn't do the hunting that kind of brought all this about. I have to say, after I've thought about all of this and kind of put it in perspective, right? Probably my favorite part is the taxidermy. And I know that's going to be a surprise to you. I'm not a trophy hunter. I always joke that, yes, I'm a trophy hunter. I'm just not all that good at it. But I, over the years, have accumulated a few mounts that I'm very, very happy with. And one thing that I realize is that, like right now, I'm looking into my trophy room. I've got my bear. I've got my 2020 buck that I shot. It was the last really nice buck I shot with Bunjie. For me, that's a banner accomplishment for me. And it's such a great story. And each of these mounts in this room, I think back to, every time I look at them, I can think back to the moment that I acquired that animal, right? That either that trapping experience, that hunting experience, what have you. The fact that my daughter is a taxidermist kind of adds to this because it's something that she and I share that's very important to me. But taxidermy lasts the longest out of all of this, right? Hunting is just such a small part of it. And it's a day, right? That's an afternoon. It can be boiled down to just a minute of our time. And that's something that to keep in perspective here. The taxidermy lasts the longest. It's something that I really enjoy and appreciate and enjoy sharing. So that was number one for me. Number two, as far as going out and doing something, was tracking. That was weird, but I kind of knew going in that was one of my favorite things. I had an opportunity recently to track a deer with friend of Bunjie, Jim, one-eyed archer, as you know, and that was, those opportunities are few and far between for me. You shoot a deer, you track it a little bit, that kind of thing. But those track jobs are memorable, and those are memories that last a long time, and you learn a lot on a track job. You really do. I believe you do. Number three for me was equipment preparation in the backyard, my third favorite thing. And I say that because I spend the most time doing it. And I probably spend the most time doing that because, number one, you have to, right? I think that's important. But I also think that I enjoy that so much. And that's one of the reasons I do it. I like playing with arrows, messing around with stuff, building arrows, all that good stuff, and shooting in the backyard. And if there's a problem, I like to diagnose that problem and figure out what the problem is and how I can fix it. So that's important to me. Number four was the scouting, right? Scouting, picking out those ambush sites, setting up your tree stand, all that good stuff. I love doing that. And because I think that it's the anticipation. Doing all that work, you spend a lot of time out there doing it, but it's the anticipation. Then I come home and I think about it, and I look at my maps and I update my maps, and I think about, man, if I was in this tree, I can shoot over here, and I remember how it looked over there, and I'm always thinking about that. I spend a lot of time thinking about it. So scouting was very big for me. Number 4 or 5, this would be number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Number 5 would be the habitat and food plottery. If you've given something a fun name like food plottery, then you must enjoy it, right? That's how it works for me. So I love food plottery. I love going out there and doing all that stuff in the habitat work, because it's very similar to scouting for me, and it's also part of setting up those ambush sites, all part of that anticipation, all a lot of fun. The number 6 for me was the processing and especially the cooking. I'm not as big on the processing, like The cleaning deer, I leave that for Genevieve. She loves that. She's promised that she will do a deer for me every year, and if I can have that done, that's great. So I do enjoy field dressing. I do enjoy that whole process, but as I get older, it gets more and more difficult for me to get a deer out of the woods. Some of you guys know what I'm talking about, right? But it is what it is, and I appreciate so much having her help to do that. This year, we're taking all of our meat to a local processor to have the snack sticks done and the sausage made and all that stuff. I'm not doing that in-house this year, but maybe down the road I'll get back into doing that. I have the tools to do that. I do that on occasion, but this time of year, when we're getting ready for Thanksgiving, I got a Thanksgiving-related an autumn tie on. Doesn't that look nice? It is what it is. But that kind of time of year, this time of year, is when we start really looking at the food part of it. And I hope you are getting ready to incorporate some of your venison in your Thanksgiving meal. I hope that you are, because I really enjoy that. So that's a big part. We pretty much live on venison here, so that kind of stuff. And what that means, though, on my list, what's funny is the last thing, number 7, was hunting. And how weird that sounds. Now, it's not that I'm getting less interested in hunting. Not at all. I love hunting. Without the hunting, we wouldn't do the rest of this stuff, right? I just got done saying that. But the hunting is such a small part of it. If you've done this is my view, right? This is just my opinion. And your numbers, I'm anxious to read your comments on this because I'm sure your information is going to be a little bit different. But if you've done all of that preseason preparation, you end up with the hunting is very, very small. It's a short experience. We go out there, kill the deer, bring it home, right? We go out there, we locate our target animal, we get that shot that we predicted ahead of time, the ambush site that we set up ahead of time, the trail cameras, the scouting that we did to predict when deer will use that trail or that food plot or that scrape, what have you. We've set that all up ahead of time. And then it's just a matter of execution. It's just a matter of being there and getting the job done. The preseason prep in the backyard, make sure that your equipment is going to function properly. That's part of it. All of this stuff sort of builds around the hunting for me. And the more I thought about it, the hunting has to be number 7. Now, I said these are all close. They're all close, right? They're all very close. But the hunting is such a short part of it. The taxidermy lasts forever. The food lasts for a year or 2 years, or in my case, if I can, it's sometimes up to 5 years, that kind of thing. But the reality is the hunting is such a flash in the pan. It's such a short but memorable experience. And the other stuff just helps me get it done and remember it, right? So it all revolves around hunting. But it's like, that's the order for me. It's just an odd thing. I'm anxious to hear your thoughts on this video, your order of those different stages of hunting, and your thoughts on this video. Have a great Thanksgiving, and until next time, all hail Bunjie.